people give me the credit that I'm the father of public housing. This is not accurate because the success of public housing in Singapore depends on many factors. The key elements will be: one, good political leadership, make good decisions. Two, good strategists to overcome problems. And three, good urban planner and designer. So that's my role. But I alone could not have achieved what Singapore has achieved in our public housing. Now, what kind of achievement have we done? In 1960, when the British government left us, we were considered more backward than Ho Chi Minh City, than Manila, than Yangon. But, and at that time, out of 1.6 million people, 3 out of 4 lived in squatter huts. So it was the urban environment in Singapore was very poor. But with good government policies, good strategies, good urban plan, within a short time, 25 years later, by 1985, we solved all the housing problem. By that I mean we have no more squatters, we have no more homeless people, we have no more slum, because in Singapore we only have one public housing agency. Instead of having separate agencies, let's have separate public housing agencies for the poorest, less poor, and so on. We mix them all together. So in Singapore, you can't see slum because we mix them together. And also we don't have ethnic enclaves because in Singapore, we have Chinese, Malay, Indian, European. So when I was in public housing, the government asked me to mix the different ethnic groups according to the percentages of different ethnic groups in new towns, neighborhoods, the new town neighborhood and precinct, as well as in each building block. That job took me about 9 months to work closely with my colleagues to come up with that, and it seems to have worked very well. And of course, I must also add that, I'm very grateful that our second Prime Minister, Goh Chok Tong, made a decision that we will not allow our racial group to change. They must remain constant according to this percentage. Because if we did not make that decision, sometimes there's an influx of people from Chinese communities, some from India, then the racial mixture percentage would fluctuate very greatly. That's also no good for the ethnic harmony. So that's what we have achieved. And the other thing, of course, is our government, as early as 1964, decided to build and encourage the population, the public housing people, to buy rather than to rent, because our government, Singapore being a tiny city with no resources, a tiny country without resources, the government felt that we should let people feel that there's an ownership of the country, they can take root here, and besides, if they have bought a house, they don't have to worry about the living conditions, so they can focus their energy on their work and push the economic development of Singapore. So all these things have been thought through. And so that today, about 80-something% of the people living in public housing own their own flats. And for the whole of Singapore, about 92-93% of Singaporeans own their own homes. So that's why we have a sense of loving the country, protecting the country. So, but of course, my job was not that easy either, because when I came back to Singapore, I was told at that time my position was quite low. So I used to ask my more senior colleague to say, since public housing wants to build new towns, can you tell me how to design new towns? I asked every single one of them. All of them said they didn't know. They just said we build new towns without knowing how to do it. I was surprised. Then I finally went to see my boss, Mr. Day. I said, nobody can tell me how to design and plan a new town. Can you tell me? He said, I also don't know. So then I realized that what I learned at Yale in city planning, I got a master's in city planning at Yale, was only concept. This is a problem around the world. We learn concept without learning how to convert concept into reality. So I told myself that I must make it as my job to turn every single concept into reality. That's how I worked together with many other colleagues to study every detail. For example, the concept that we must build highly self-sufficient new town. So the question is, what is highly self-sufficient new town? There are a few questions. What are the facilities that residents in the new town must have as a basic facilities? Second, to keep all these basic facilities, how big a population do you need in order to support these facilities so that they are commercially viable? So all these things, I have the answers. For example, in HDB Newtown now, I'm trying to aim for at least 200,000 people, which I achieved, except that nowadays, it's Newtown, mostly we have only around 150,000. Why? Because in those days, the family size was big. Every family had about 4.6 people per family. Now it's barely 3.2 person, or even 2.8 people. So, but still, despite the shrinking of the population in Newtown, all the facilities are still sustainable because the Singaporeans today, financial capacity is stronger. So fewer people can support the same amount of facilities we have. So, I mean, there are many details. What I want to say is that in 20 years in HDB, I actually built up, with a lot of support from my colleagues, real skill in Chinese, 真功夫, to build new town, to design HDB flats. Even the HDB flats, I did not allow myself to design. Every 1 or 3 or 4 room, 5 bed, every flat design must be done through discussion with all my colleagues, the engineer, sociologists, estate managers, and so on, to tell me how to plan this. So it's a collective wisdom.